co-manager and trainer for the WBC heavyweight champion of the world. The bronze bomber Deontay Wilder from right here in Tuscaloosa is at the pinnacle of the fight game, and he's with us to discuss Wilder Fury 2 coming up Saturday, February 22nd, pay-per-view at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas. Good morning, Jay. How are you? Good morning. How are you doing? How'd you like that introduction? Sounded a little bit like you were the fighter, didn't it?
I'll pay you when I see you.
All right, pal. Hey, first of all, just you're right in the middle of training camp, getting ready for the biggest fight of the year, Wilder Fury 2. How's everything going with Deontay? On track, feeling good about where he's at?
Really good. In fact, probably a little bit ahead of where we need to be right now. So we're trying to slow things down a little bit because we didn't have much of a break between the Ortiz fight in November and Fury fight in February. Mm-hmm. So the quick turnaround meant that really the camp's just kind of a continuation of the previous camp. So we it was like day one was like week 3. So we're in great shape right now.
The message for the public from this fight to me, Jay, seems to be that when you want to make a big fight happen, you can. And I think that is a little bit of a message to Anthony Joshua and his folks, because here you have 2 top-tier heavyweights that have already fought once. You got different promotions involved. You got different pay-per-view networks. I mean, you got a lot of moving parts here, but both fighters wanted the fight to happen, and it really happened and was put together without much trouble, even though, as I said, there are a lot of moving parts for these 2 fighters to come together and fight again.
That's very true, and it really starts with the fighters. If they are insistent that they want this to happen, everything else kind of falls into place. Excuse me. Everything else kind of falls into place. It's one of those things where it's like you got different networks, different promotional companies, different management, different streaming services. All this had to be worked out, but it just goes to show that if there's a big enough fight, enough money to be made, enough interest, that everybody will and can and does come together to make it happen. But it starts with the fighters.
Indeed it does. And this is an interesting this has just become an interesting relationship, I think, between Deontay and Tyson Fury. Fight number 1 was a beauty. I mean, both guys showed their incredible talent. I mean, Fury, for a guy 6'9", and that big, the way he moves, the way he counterpunches, his ability on his feet, and then Deontay with the most dominant right hand maybe in the history of the division, and we got to see that on display. And I sense this is a rivalry, there's no doubt, and this is a huge fight. I mean, this is a gigantic fight, and they're promoting, and I know when they get in the ring, they want to put each other on the canvas. But I sense a genuine respect between these 2 men. Am I on base there with that, Jay?
Yeah, if they weren't fighting each other, they would get along very well. They're both big personalities. They both laugh a lot. They both love life and are in a real good place right now. But the fact is, they're both insanely competitive. So they want the same thing, and they're after the same things, and they've got to go through each other to get the same things. And what that means is that competitive nature is going to come out. So it's very real when they look each other in the eye, they call each other names, and it will get very, very real leading up to fight time and of course, the night of. So there's no question about that. There's but deep down, after it's all said and done, they're the kind of guys that will be friends. Down the road, they'll enjoy each other's company. It's just the fact that they're both competitive and they're both wanting to claim the biggest prize.
Yeah, and when you talk about Deontay's competitiveness, it's off the charts. I mean, he was not pleased, even though he won the fight, with how he performed against Ortiz. He came back and cleaned that up and got a draw against Fury, but immediately he wants to put any doubt to rest that he's the better fighter. And you know how this works. A lot of times if there's a bad matchup for a fighter, they try to avoid it. Deontay's just the opposite. He runs toward the guys that give him the most competition. It's a somewhat unique strategy, Jay.
It really is, and it's kind of funny because a few years ago, everybody was saying, he doesn't fight anybody. Deontay's not fighting anybody. But the truth is that he was the one who wanted to fight the best. The best didn't want to fight him.
Right.
And now that he's in such a position where fighting Deontay Wilder means you make a lot of money, now those guys, are coming to the table, and that's why you're getting the big fights now. You're getting the fights that we always wanted. Nobody has ever wanted to fight Luis Ortiz once, much less twice. I mean, they still don't, right? No other top name has fought him. Nobody in the top 10 has fought him except for Deontay. Nobody runs to fight Tyson Fury, and Deontay's doing it twice. It's like that with him. He really wants the biggest fight, and he's serious about it. He wants to test himself, and this is just indicative of his mindset. It's different than other people's mindset. He wants the biggest fight.
He sure does. Fight-wise, you had the first fight. Obviously, you're going to learn some things. Fury's going to learn some things, but I'm interested. Jay, I mean, as Deontay pointed out at the press conference in Vegas, man, I'm with the same people I've been with the entire time, including you. You've been there since the grassroots. But I thought it was interesting that Fury split from Ben Davidson, the guy who really got his career turned back around, helped him lose all that weight, and he goes with the famous Kronk gym and Emmanuel Stewart's legacy there, and a new trainer with Sugar Hill Stewart, and so they're going to do some things differently. How does that change your approach that Fury's going to be with a new trainer for this fight, or does it at all?
Well, our focus is just on Deontay. I think going into the first fight, he'll tell you that he was anxious to prove to the world, everything he could do, and he probably tried to force the issue too much, and try to hit a home run with every punch, and he's all the wiser for it, having gone through that experience. I think there's no doubt he had an arm issue that in camp we weren't able to use that. The arm was fine, but it was just a thing where we saved it. We saved it until fight night, so the timing on the right hand wasn't there, and that's why Deontay had the knockdowns in rounds 9 and 12. And not 1 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
It took him a while to iron out the timing issues, and plus Fury is very, very good. So going into this one, Deontay also came in at 212 and was actually 209 on fight night, which means when he knocked Fury down in the 12th round, he was probably a cruiserweight, 200 pounds, right? So if you add all that together, and if he does what he's doing now, which is getting his rest, eating properly, realizing he has to eat several times a day to keep his weight up. I wish I had that problem.
Me too. Gosh.
And also, healthy, no injuries. And so our focus is really more on Deontay. That being said, I really like Ben Davidson. I think Ben is a phenomenal trainer, and he really did a fantastic job of bringing Fury back from. I mean, when he connected with Fury, Ben Davidson and Fury was probably around 400 pounds. He had drug problems, the mental problems, life problems, everything, depression issues. And Ben was there day and night through all of that, and little by little brought him back to the point where he is now. And so I didn't like that that they split, because I think Ben is a really good guy, and I like him a lot. I think he's a tremendous trainer, especially to be as young as he is. And but Fury has kind of a history of changing things up. And if he thinks that Javon can help, that being Sugar Hill can help, then he's got to do what he thinks can help the best. But for us, we're just really concentrating on what we do. If we do what we do better than they do what they do, then we'll be successful.
Visiting with Jay Deas, co-manager and trainer for the WBC heavyweight champion of the world, Tuscaloosa's Deontay Bronze Bomber Wilder. Going to get it on in Las Vegas, February 22nd against Tyson Fury. All right, you mentioned the weight issue, and as you said, it's a fight for Deontay to keep his weight up. He's such a highly conditioned athlete. Was a little bit, you've indicated, underweight for that first fight. What would you like him to be at for Tyson Fury 2 in terms of his weight? What's an ideal weight, best possible weight for Deontay for this fight?
Yeah, we never really look at the scale because we're not trying to force the issue. As long as he's eating well and getting his rest, whatever he comes in at, he comes in at. I guess the ideal number I think for him, an effectiveness is probably 224 to 226.
Right.
Would be great. I don't know. I don't know if he'll get that high or not. But we'll see. Certainly 209 was not where I would have wanted it. But I think that was all just because of the, him wanting to do so well, and it was like he just wanted the fight to be there. He's just so ready to fight that he wasn't hungry. He didn't have an appetite. And Deontay's the kind of guy that, as much as he burns calories and as much as he sweats during his workout, if he skips a meal, there could be a 2 or 3 pound difference after that workout. And, 217 becomes 214 and so on. So he has to consciously eat, 5, 6, 7 times a day.
42-0-1 with 41 knockouts. Stavern went the distance when Deontay won the belt, and of course Fury somehow got up. I still don't know how. I know the goal is to win the fight, but clearly Deontay is a knockout fighter. Is that part of the goal for Deontay, is not just to win, but to knock this guy out? Even though he's a gifted boxer, he avoids punches probably as well as anybody in the heavyweight division. Do you think that Deontay can knock this guy out, or are you expecting it to go the distance again? Oh,
there's no question Deontay can knock anybody out in the world. He's got that kind of special, very, very unique power, and he doesn't go, per se looking for the knockout, but I know for sure he wants to impress, but he's not going to force it this time. That's the difference. Look at the last fight, how mature he was with Ortiz. If it wasn't there, he just continued working on his positioning and, getting incrementally closer to where he needed to be to land the big shot, so that when that shot was there, he took it, but he didn't force it. He wasn't just swinging, wildly at Ortiz trying to land something that wasn't there. So that's just the maturity, and he's always growing. He's always learning. And we always call it the 6-month rule. Would you now beat yourself from 6 months ago? Would the you now beat you from 6 months ago? And from the beginning of his career, every 6 months, that answer has always been a yes. And I think that's going to continue for quite a while. That's just kind of how you look at it. Is, are you better now than you were 6 months ago? And so from the last time Deontay fought Fury, he's a much better fighter than he was then.
Great approach. Just a couple more questions, Jay. JD's with us talking Wilder Fury 2. Deontay, as I said, pointed it out at the press conference in Vegas about how, he's kept a grassroots approach with the same people that got him to where he's at. He's kept a home here in Tuscaloosa. He continues to train here in Tuscaloosa, even though he could be anywhere in the world, literally. And he's benefited from the fruits of his labor. There's no doubt. I mean, the money's there, the cars are there, the homes are there, but he has remained who he is and true to his roots. I think that speaks to our community, how it shapes people, but it also speaks to his character that everywhere he goes, people know he's from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. As you've watched this, his career evolve to where it's at now, I know it's good for you. It's good for the people around him, but are you surprised that he's been able to stay humble and keep that work ethic and the Tuscaloosa part of him at the forefront of his career?
He has stayed exactly that, and things around him have changed a lot, but he hasn't changed a lot. So I think that's the most important thing is he's very approachable. He's not a guy that walks around with 50 people surrounding him, telling people to get back. Nothing like that. You're apt to see him at the grocery store or the gas station or anywhere at a sporting event, and he's very approachable, very, very great with people, great with fans, and I think that's just him. He never forgets where he came from and how tough it was for him coming up, and I think that's kind of what you get today as the guy that remembers all that.
Outstanding. All right. I think Deontay's going to win the fight. I think we all do. You got to go out and you got to prove it. But this is a huge fight. This is the fight. But Deontay's been clear on one thing since he became the champion. He wants to unify these belts, these titles. Going forward, will a fight, if Deontay is successful against Tyson Fury, will a fight against Anthony Joshua ever happen? Is that still something you think can happen, or is it just their difficulty in wanting to put this fight together? Is that realistic, Jay, at this point?
Well, we've tried multiple times, and it's well documented. And that's been a one-way street. There's never been a reciprocation on their part to do anything. So all we're focused on is Tyson Fury. There's nothing, that's kind of like a question I can answer after the fight, but there's nothing to talk about until Deontay handles business February 22nd at the MGM in Las Vegas on Fox and ESPN pay-per-view. That's the fight. That's the two guys who want the big fight. That's the two guys who stepped up to the plate, and didn't avoid stepping up to the plate. So those are the only two guys to me that matter, and the rest of it, we'll deal with after the fight. But right now, it's all about Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. You
did mention the pay-per-view, and I do want to, before I let you go, how's this going to work with a split pay-per-view? If someone here in Tuscaloosa wants to buy the fight, is it two totally separate broadcasts? Or are they splitting the broadcast? How's that working with ESPN and Top Rank and Fox Sports and PBC?
I think the way it's going to work is it's going to be available, across the board on all their different platforms, being ESPN and PBC and Fox and everything. I think that logistically the way it'll work, but the broadcast will be kind of like a split broadcast. Some of the Fox people will handle part of the pre-fight.
Okay.
Then I think ESPN may handle the actual blow-by-blow, and then Fox may come back for the post-fight, that kind of thing. So they've worked out all those details to put, I think, what's going to be a really good product out there, and definitely the fight of the year. There's no question about that. So, and it's only February, so you're getting an early present for 2020.
No doubt, and I know a lot of people from Tuscaloosa are flying out to Vegas. I'm planning on being one of them right now. That's my plan. Looking forward to it. When will Team Wilder head out there and make final preparations for the fight?
Deontay will fly out a little bit early because they fly him to Los Angeles, and he will finish camp around the 12th or 13th of February. And then Deontay will fly out to Los Angeles and do a bunch of media out there. And then he will meet us in Vegas. So I think we will be in Vegas around the 17th or 18th and be there for the entirety of fight week at the MGM. So we'll be in Vegas for approximately a week. But Deontay will go out a little early.
Can't wait, Jay. I think everybody is so pumped up for this, and it's going to be a great fight. Appreciate the time, as always, and we'll talk again down the road.
Yeah, I hope to see you out in Vegas. That'd be great.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you. Thanks, Gary.
Jay Deas. Squad! Yes, sir. The one and only Bomb Squad getting ready to take on Tyson Fury again.